Hey guys, this is Ashwani, and in this video we are discussing Spring Cloud config with Spring Profile and microservices. So let's understand first why we are moving to the Spring Cloud config, and I mean why we are using Spring Cloud config with microservices. So there is one problem with microservices architecture. To overcome that problem, we are using Spring Cloud config. So what is that problem, Ashwani, right? Like you said, right? There is a problem with the microservice architecture. So what is the problem in microservice architecture? So we are using this Spring Cloud config. So let's understand that and find out. So let's suppose you have 4 microservices, 1, 2, and 3, 4. And you have one common DB, that is, this is your DB. You make one microservice and start communicating your microservice to your DB. In future, you are having a requirement to connect, like another make a microservice and start communicating to this. So what do you need to make for making a communication? What you need to do? You need to mention all these into the .properties file, right? All the configurations related DB communication you need to mention in microservice 1. So this is my microservice 1. So you need to put all the configuration inside it. And same as all the configuration inside microservice 2, right? And same as 3, same as 4. Let's suppose you have a requirement of 100 microservices. What you will do in this case? In a real-time project, we are working on on one environment like dev, QA. We have a requirement to make multiple microservices and we have to up multiple instances, right, inside our containers and all. So in this case, what we will do? So this is a problem in microservice architecture. So for resolving this problem, the people we are working on, those are working on Spring, they have introduced a topic called concept called Spring Cloud config. This is a different project and completely different project of Spring. They have launched it in an umbrella of Spring Cloud. They already have a lot of project in Spring Cloud. If you go here and check Spring Cloud, okay, product Spring Cloud projects, okay, so Spring Cloud, go under it and you can see lot of project here like Spring Cloud, Azure, Alibaba, Amazon Services, CLI. These all things come under Spring Cloud, but we are dealing with Spring Cloud config, and those lot more things are here like circuit breaker and Eureka services. So if you are interested in all those topics, I have this full playlist of microservices, and here I have mega videos on Spring Cloud, Spring API Gateway, and as well as Eureka and History and all. You can just, if you are interested, just go to my channel, you will find this playlist. Okay, let me close this. Yeah, so we are dealing with Spring Cloud config. So why we are using this? Obviously, we have a problem of centralized configuration. So Spring Cloud config help us to put our configurations at one place. So with the help of that centralized config, I can use all those configuration in my all microservices. It means just like in repo, right? I will push my code just after this video. You all want like some like code, whatever we type in this video. So what I will do, I will put into the GitHub repository, and from there you clone that project, right? So in this same architecture and this same manner, this will work. We will put our microservices configurations like database communication configurations in one centralized place. From there, these all microservices communicate to that and fetch all the configuration whatever they need, right? So this configuration thing will work with SVN and as well as Git. We mostly worked with Git. So what we will do, we will make file with the extension of .properties, okay, and mention all the configuration inside it and push into the local repo when we are working in the local system. Suppose you say, Ashwani, okay, it's okay, you said we will put into the local repo. Let tomorrow I want to have a requirement to work on, like I will want to work with the containers and all. So what I will do in that case? Obviously, you will push wherever you host your GitHub repo or GitLab. okay, and give the URL and make that path to communicate and make that part visible inside your one microservice. So that microservice can communicate to your server. Server, what I mean for server, Spring Cloud Server. Okay, so why I'm saying this Spring Cloud Server? Because whenever you are using a Spring Cloud Server, this is Spring Cloud config thing, you are working with the architecture of server and client. So the microservice which are using the configuration from the server, that's called client, and that microservice hold the configurations, that is called server. So whenever you are putting a dependency while making a microservices, you need to select wisely which is your microservice react as a client and which microservice you want to make as a server. We will talk about all these things in detail, but I'm giving you a theoretical idea. Whenever you want, like whenever we are coding that, you have that understanding. So what is the agenda? So before moving to the agenda of that project, I hope you are understanding, you have an answer of why, right? So what is the project agenda? That is, I want to make one microservice, that is Spring Cloud config, and another Spring Cloud config one, and one is server and Git repo. I told you, right? Spring Cloud config work with the Git repo. So I will making a file in Git repo. I will push the files inside it. Okay. And this server having this information of these files, it is communicating to the Git. And whatever the microservice want to fetch all those configuration, they will come to this server and say, okay bro, you have the configuration of property says A. It will say, okay, I have this property, then back. So what is this? This is called client and server architecture. This is client and this is server. So client is sending a request for something and server send back in response. Okay. So whenever we are making this service, we will make as a client. This we will make as server. Server and client. Okay. And this I will talk you later what this is. Okay. First let's focus on these two. So let me make this clear. So we will not making a mess in it. Okay. Yeah. Now let's back to the topic. So let's work on this one first. So let's came to the STS, and this is what this is called. Wherever I pushing all these configuration, that is called centralized configuration. So let's came back to the STS, and what we will do, we will first make a server. So as you can check here, this is Spring Cloud config server. Let me open this main file. Okay. And if you want to make any service as a Spring Cloud server which communicate to the Git, okay, you need to use this annotation, Spring annotation @ enable configuration server, enable config server. So came back, as you can check here, I was using this enable config server with the Spring Boot application. Okay, this is a main class. And one more thing, go to the properties file. In properties file, we want to use these three properties. If you are like very much interested to giving a name of your application, just go ahead and use this. For port, these are the common properties. This one is pretty important. I told you, right? You want to make this communication first, server to Git repo, right? Because your server must have the information about your files. So Spring Cloud config server git URI. And what is git URI? e/:config repo. So let me go to the e/common repo. This is e/config repo, and I am having these three files, one for dev, one for QA, and one for service. Why I have made these three files? Because I want to make you understand a profile concept also. So let's come back. And what is this? You ask me, hey, actually, what is this file colon and 3 times this /? This is a syntax of giving a path. Okay. Now, came back. These three properties only we are using. Now go to the pom.xml. So if you ask me whatever the properties are here, So one is cloud config server, because I told you, right, whenever we are making a microservice, we need to decide which microservice I want to make as a server, okay, and which as a client. So one is server and one is dev tool. So if you ask me how I can use this, go to the STS and go to the project. Either you want to go to the Spring Initializer, you can use that, and go to the dependency add section and ask here for config. So let me type it config. So at down Spring Cloud config, you can find it, that is Spring Cloud config server or either client. I hope you are getting it what I am saying. Two things are here, one is client and one is server, whichever you want to use. Okay, cancel it. Now let me run this, and I want to show you one thing here, because right now we are not making any communication thing. I just want to up my server and I want to check my server will read these files or not. But before reading these files, I want to let you know I have just created these files and I have already pushed into the local repo. And how you will make a local repo, that is easy thing. Just go to this E directory, make these files and say git bash here and initialize your git init local repo and commit these files in that repo. I hope you are getting it, right? Through that you will make your git repo from here. Okay, so I want to let you know, like, to make you understand these files, server is able to make a communication to these git repo or not. So I have my server up. Okay, you can check here, it is running on port number 8888. So let me throw in a request to it. So what is the request I want to throw? Localhost, and it is running on 888 port. Okay, so I will say 888, and what is the URL? You can check here, limit service / default. Why default? As I told you, right, I have these three files, QA, dev, and without any configuration, without any like environment, that will treat as default profile. Okay, so let me show you one thing. If I pass here, it will be printing like this. If you print in your system, it will be print like this. Okay, I'm using one plugin, that is JSON plugin. That's why it is becoming in this format with the JSON beautifier plugin. Okay, so if you ask me actually, hey, instead of default, can you pass QA? Yeah, I will pass QA. But as you can check here, this is using a profile as in QA. Okay, but your default value is also coming here, 2 and 990, as you can check, 2990, but in QA 63444 like this. Okay, 63444. But what it will do, it will always consider a value for your profile only. It will not consider a value of default one. Got it? Now came back. Now what I want to do, I want to make this microservice, that is called Spring Cloud one. Okay, so let's come back and close all these things from here and minimize it. Came back to the first one, Spring Cloud. You need to understand this one, microservice, because in this what we are doing, let me do this again to make you understand what we are doing here. Till now what we have completed, we completed this local repo, okay, and communication my server to the local repo. Now what I want to make, this microservice and communication to this. Okay, for reading these property in server, we already make a connection, but reading these properties in microservice, we need to do certain things. So let's see that. Open this. Okay, here we will talking about this REST template later when we are making our second microservice. That's actually third one, but I named as one. Okay, so we will talk about it later. Came to the controller first. We are having config minimum, config maximum. And what is a config is? Configuration having three properties actually, but neglect this one URI. We will talk about when we are making that microservice. Minimum, maximum. Do not go for a spelling. I know that is a typo. Okay. So minimum and maximum. And here, if you can check, I am make this minimum and maximum. Got it? Here also minimum, maximum. First thing, whatever the properties you have inside it, same name you have to give inside file. Got it? And you ask me, hey Ashwani, what about this name? That is important thing. Go to your application.properties, neglect these all things for now. Just check this one, limit service. Here also limit service. I'm giving a name to my microservice as a limit service. I hope you are getting it. Okay. As you can check here, I have mentioned this here also. You need to make as a limit service, right? And what about this second one? That is Spring Cloud, like Spring config import. From where you want to import a properties. That is optional. First of all, in case my server is not running, you should not throw any error. Okay, just use local properties here. As you can check, limit service, minimum and maximum. So what happened? It will use local properties instant when my server is not running. So that's why I put optional and config server, and from where my server is running, 888 port. So came back. Now to make sure this property I will read in my service, I need one more thing, that is a configuration class. And in configuration class, we have these two properties, and I need to make this as a component, okay, because we are using as an auto hire in my controller. Got it? And one annotation @ configuration properties with the name of my service, and this name is same as application name, and this name same here, limit service and limit service dot properties. I hope this is making any connection between all those, this concept. Okay. And this is a bean which we are using as in like we are passing minimum maximum from my controller and making object and passing there, and here we are calling this, right? Yeah. So let me show you and up and running this service. And yeah, first we talk about the POM, whatever the POM we have added here. So where it is a POM is POM.xml, where it is, yeah, POM.xml. Okay, as you can check here, we are using Spring Boot, no, not this one, actuator I have added here. Okay, DevTools, okay, and Spring Cloud Starter config. Okay, yeah, I have added client from there, so it is like a Spring Cloud Starter config. So let me up and running this service, Spring Boot. Okay, this is up and running, and it will show in a console here. And as you can check, my server is also up and running, my service also up and running, and let me throw a request for a controller that is called limit1. Okay, we will talk about this controller later, because this controller is capable of making a request to another microservice, and that is not available right now, right? So what I will do, I will call limit1. So localhost 8080 and limit. As you can check, we are having 12 and 123. And here in application.properties, we are using dev profile. Let me comment it down and start this service again. I have dev tool, so restarting and all, it will take care about that. So let me rerun that. 2990. And what is 2990? Default. I told you, right? I don't have any environment, that's why it will be treated as a default. So here we are not using any environment, that's why I treat it as a default. Okay, so if you mention dev, then you will be reading our properties from dev file. Okay, now let's came back and make our third microservice, or first microservice, whatever you say, that is microservice 1. And this microservice will print hello test, not print, I will say there's a returning hello test to microservice 1, and it will be communicating to this one. But here is a catch. I do not want to make my application to use a static URL. What I want to do, let me remove all these things and let me make you understand that. Okay, what I want to use, I want to take a URL. I will put a URL here, that is URI, of this service here, where in Git, and from Git this server will read, okay, and whenever this service will up, it will go to here and say, okay bro, you have URI. They say, yeah, I have URI, and take it. And after taking a URI, it will make a communication to this and it will give to this. So let me show you. You can check this dev one. We have this URI here, right, in repo, and came back. So let me show you that service, microservice one, and here I have not added anything, just a dev tool and web, okay. And I have this one class, main class, and controller, that is hello test. So let me up and run this service and boot. I want to show you one thing, this communication in practical, like when this application is up and running, it will go to here and fetch the information, then after it making a communication. So let me open the console for that particular microservice, that is my Spring Cloud, right, Spring Cloud, this one config. As you can check here, what it will saying, fetching data, no profile set here, default, because we have put on default. And here you can check, let me make some changes and rerun this again, okay. Where it is, properties file, from here let me uncomment it and save it, so it will rerun automatically again. So now you can check, active profile is still showing default, yeah, here located environment limit service, profile is dev, okay. And here you can check fetching a configurations from server at 888. So first it will fetching a configuration, after that making a communication. So let me call this controller now. Which controller? This one. It will first print a URI, okay, and then making a call for object to the my microservice. So how it making a communication, localhost, after that test, hello test, right, simple. So what we have learned, let me summarize that. First, make local repo and put a configurations in that, okay. And I hope I make you understand this profiling concept also here. Either you can use Spring Cloud config profile, or you can use Spring profile active or dev. So whatever the profile you will use, the same file will be picked from the local repo from here, dev or queue. Got it? So let me summarize, local repo and put all the files whatever you are making inside it. Second, make your server with appropriate annotations and make your client. Inside a client, you need to make config file, config Java file, not this config, okay. Yeah, and for that we are using one annotation, okay, that I will show you again, that is configuration properties. And do not forget to match all these names, okay. If you want this PDF or file, just let me know, I will attach in the description. I will see you in the next video with another topic. Till then, if you like this video, just subscribe and hit the like button. Do not forget to share. Till then, bye bye.